Hello. Okay, so neurofeedback today. This was the first time I had been in over a week. So this whole entire last week, we finally went on our cruise that we'd been planning for 3 years. That finally happened. Kept getting delayed due to COVID. And it was the first cruise we'd ever been on. So it was really fun. We had a great time. Lots of fun, lots of relaxation, lots of good laughs, good fun. So this was my second to last appointment at the spot where we are in my brain. There was one really big movement spike, I was trying to shift in the chair and the thing, it was like, beep, 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 beep. I was like, sorry. So I settled back down. So their levels were up slightly, but I'm pretty sure because it's an average of the whole thing that averaged in and made everything go up a little bit. I was like, sorry about that. I usually just kind of shift slightly, but I was trying to flip my legs to the other side and it did not like that. But, yeah, overall it was good. And so when I go day after tomorrow, that'll be the last session on this back part of the brain. And then he was describing to me going into alpha theta work, which is a lot of stuff from early childhood traumatic stuff that happened. Super intrigued about that. He said I close my eyes and he dims the lights and he puts headphones on and I just listen to tones. And that accesses this area in your, he explained it by the hippocampus is where memories are stored that you can access. But the amygdala has, I believe he called them state memories. These are memories that you can't just access, but that's something it will come rushing at you and overwhelm you emotionally, probably because it's something that might be triggered by something that you won't know it's coming, right? It could be a smell, it could be something, and that it triggers that. And so the goal of this is to get myself into a waking sleep state to where it's right at the cusp of being awake and being asleep, where my brain is able to access those amygdala memories and store them into hippocampal storage, so that I can, when it comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, that's that. And it's not something that's overwhelming and an issue. He said he's been doing this for 15 years, and that it's been really beneficial for people with early childhood stuff. Now, I definitely want to kind of asterisk this because I feel some viewers watch and they're like, oh, wow. Well, Louise must have just had this horrendous childhood trauma. That is incorrect. Trauma and things that happen to us, everybody experiences trauma. Everybody does. I started experiencing anxiety from a really young age, really, really little. And so it is just something that is definitely compounded. But these core beliefs that we make about ourselves when we're very, very young impact us for the rest of our lives. And so I've been doing a lot of work to try to uncover those truths within me, what I believe about myself, about others, and just humans in general. What is life? Life is this. I am this. People are this. And that, again, those things may not very well serve me anymore now as an adult, and I may know them to logically really not be true. But when you hold those deep-rooted core beliefs from childhood, based on experiences that happened to you as a kid. So I'm not saying that I was abused as a child. I'm saying that there were things that happened throughout my childhood that were traumatic for me and that formed and aided in the anxiety that I have. So I'm trying to not wanting to share my experience so that it could maybe help somebody else is important to me. At the same time, I'm not gonna, I don't want anybody to be misinterpreting what I'm saying. everybody experiences trauma. Everybody's trauma is valid. And I know personally it's been a lot of like, well, other people have had it a lot worse, and minimizing my own experience and like what I've been through, and how that's really detrimental to your healing, your understanding of yourself, dealing with feelings of worth, and what I have to offer is enough, that in general. So by not minimizing my experience and letting myself feel whatever I need to feel, go through the things, right? The only way out is through, and not stymie myself by belittling my experience and what happened as a kid, right? Like, we all have stuff, and so it's not any sort of like blame game against anyone in my life. So that just feels important to say. So, but I am going to talk about trauma, like it's things that have happened. But it's not me like offering, I'm not going to go into like minutia details, because it's like, this is my experience. This is something that has formed me into the way that I am. And then me sharing like the tiny details of things, I feel like is not super important. I'm talking more broad strokes for this, to share my experience. But that knowing that I am going into great detail and depth with my therapist, with, that in general. And I think that's important, and I hope everybody does that. But me sharing this neurofeedback experience, I think, is really important, because it's something that I didn't know about until I read The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, and I highly recommend everybody read that or listen to it on Audible or something. But that is what led me to this type of thing, this type of therapeutic healing. And so I just think that part of my healing journey is sharing what I'm going through and being raw and open and vulnerable. So that's what I'm doing. It's not, I promise I'm not trying to be vague, but also I'm not going to delve into the minutia detail of what happened throughout my life, right? So I'm finding a good middle ground of sharing what I think is important to help people know that neurofeedback could be beneficial, that therapy is really helpful. So when I'm talking about childhood trauma, I think everybody has childhood trauma, and you and only you will know what that was for you, and how that impacted you, and how that affected you, and what you want to do with it moving forward. And if you choose to repress it, or you choose to work through it and help yourself hold on to the things that are real and true and serve you as an adult, and let go of and deconstruct the core beliefs of, I'm unlovable, I'm not worthy, I am a burden, I am, you know what I mean? These things that our childhood brains made factual, and how even though now logically we don't accept that, we know that's not true, those deeply held core beliefs that we made as kids will continue to come up in like self-sabotaging ways throughout your life until you work on them, acknowledge them, let yourself do the work to understand where they came from, the inner child work, the reparenting thing. Like, everybody, it's unrealistic to think that people can be everything for you and give you everything you need. You have to be willing to show up for yourself and be there for yourself in that way. So that amount of rambling to say, I'm really, really interested and thrilled that neurofeedback is going this route now. And this was something that he mentioned in the beginning of like, kind of like breaking down the structure of what neurofeedback was going to look like for me. That this would be like the second chunk of it. So I am super interested. He said he's going to keep talking to me about surrender. And I think that is just kind of like an overarching theme in my life. Releasing, letting go, surrendering to the process of whatever's happening, letting go of the like semblance of control. Like it's false. It's this false construct that like I control anything, and I don't want to live in that control and perfectionistic mindset anymore. And I'm very much working to allow myself to find that peace and that surrender and that calm about it. So this is going to be practicing that, and I'm really, really looking forward to it, especially knowing it'll help me access the inner things, you know? So yeah.